And Jack, at 6:15, you're going to mention the 6:45.
Yes. What I'm going to do first, it's going to be a little bit unusual, but we're going to have to say the Pledge of Allegiance twice.
Mhm.
I have to call the pre-board meeting to order with the pledge and then the public hearing. So I can't say, you can't, you know, it's not like it hurts to say it. You can't say it enough. All right.
6 o'clock.
Okay. The April pre-board meeting is called to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
of
to
allegiance
the
to the
flag
flag
of the
United States of America,
and to
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
which it stands,
under God,
indivisible,
one nation,
indivisible,
under God,
liberty and
indivisible,
justice
with
for all.
liberty and justice for all. Supervisor Conway,
Present.
Counselor Tierney,
Present.
Counselor Kennedy,
Present.
Counselor Matters,
Present.
Counselor Fritz.
Where did Bridget go?
Counselor.
Present.
Oh, okay. All right, so
Present.
Now, okay, got it. Now that the pre-board meeting is in order, we're going to open the public hearing. So I guess since we're in the meeting, I'm going to make a motion to open the public hearing on the comprehensive plan update. May I have a second?
I will second that.
Please take notice that the town board of the town of East Greenbush will hold a public hearing on April 14th, 2021, beginning at 6 p.m. to consider the following matters. The town of East Greenbush Town Board will hold a public hearing to receive comment on the proposed comprehensive plan as modified as part of the town's ongoing efforts to assure full opportunity for citizen participation in the preparation of the comprehensive plan. The draft comprehensive plan document is available from the town's website and may also be viewed at the town clerk's office at 225 Columbia Turnpike, Rensselaer, New York, 12144. The public hearing will commence at 6 p.m. and it may be and will be held by remote means. More information about the public hearing is posted on the website. Written comment may be submitted to the town board by email to info@eastgreenbush.org or to the Planning and Zoning Department, Town of East Greenbush, 225 Columbia Turnpike, Rensselaer, New York, at any time prior to the hearing, by order of the town board, Town of East Greenbush.
Thank you, Ellen.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're in a public hearing now. Typically, the format is I would ask 3 times if you support the updated comprehensive plan and then 3 times if you oppose the comprehensive plan. But I think this really isn't a question of supporting or proposing. It's a question of hearing the ideas, the thoughts that people have. So I'm going to say who wants to support the update of the comprehensive plan, but just start talking. Don't worry about whether you are at any level supporting the plan. Just, we want to hear what you have to say. So who wants to go first?
Joe Vanderloo here, Supervisor, if this is
Hi,
a good
Joe.
time. Good.
Fire away, Joe.
I'll jump in. Obviously, the town and all the folks involved in the process have worked very hard in putting together what I think is really a very good document that you are working with. My specific thoughts that I wanted to share tonight, the ideas that you called for and thoughts, are that there is some good reference in that part of the plan that speaks about East Greenbush's waterfront along American Oil Road and the assets that are there, both the potential for good, solid development in the town that makes sense. The plan makes reference to going forward, a hope for utilization of the National Gypsum Site, which has been mothballed for the past 13 years. And so I just wanted to share the idea that in the last very short period of time, there's been a great deal that has happened with regard to offshore wind development and its implications for the capital region, and very specifically for the town of East Greenbush as it relates to the waterfront. And in fact, there was just yesterday a summit held by the Center for Economic Growth relative to the offshore wind developments here in the capital region, the award by NYSERDA of projects that have focused on very large development on the river here in the Port of Albany, the Port of Queens, and that have implications that we think are going to involve spillover and the need for the assets that are available along the river in East Greenbush. So my comment would be, I would like to share those very recent updates with the town leadership and with the comprehensive plan folks, so that they're aware of the very latest regarding that. And it, I think certainly everything that's in the plan points toward various potential and a sensitivity for those parts of the area that need to be protected at the same time. And I would suggest that what is going on right now with regard to offshore wind really provides the town the best of both worlds. A utilization of that portion of that area of the town that lends itself, that's already developed and could have a rebirth and a reuse, and be of such a quality and level that could enhance, or possibly, I'll speculate, provide an opportunity for the resources to preserve those portions of that area that, as part of that development, there could be the resources to provide the green spaces and other opportunities that should exist on certain portions of the town in that area. So that's really it in a nutshell. Hopefully that's helpful to your considerations. And I would be following up with this directly in submitting some of the detail around the very extensive capital investments that are going to be made in new facilities in the capital region to support offshore wind, and the very significant job opportunities that are going to flow from that. There's a lot of work that's happened in the last few months. These announcements, some may have followed in the news, just came out January 13th, and the details of it are just kind of rolling out right now. So that's what I had.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else? Don't be shy. Okay. David, do you have anything, or you've already spoken on this?
I don't support the current comprehensive plan as it currently exists. And the only reason I don't support it is the issue with the lack of protection for residential properties that abut current and potentially future residential commercial developments that abut those neighborhoods. I have, from personal experience, have concerns about the fact that residential properties that abut those commercial or future commercial properties have had a reduction in the quality of life and future reduction in quality of life. Main concern is the Route 4 corridor and the Route 9 and 20 corridor. We seem to have an awful lot of development going on, a lot of push for additional commercial properties. And I don't think the current comprehensive plan, the actual proposed comprehensive plan, addresses the issues with those residential properties around those areas.
Dave, I think one thing is that once the plan is adopted, we're going to amend the zoning map. And I really think that's a fight that'll be won or lost with the zoning map. So,
The zoning map
The zoning map permits and prohibits. So that's what you're looking for is a prohibit, and the zoning map will do that. The town has had an issue with what are called residential buffer zones, and they're kind of having to be redefined. They were once a residual category. Now it's a very serious issue, as you have raised and as you know from personal experience. So I get it.
So how any new or current buffer zones going to be affected by this comprehensive plan? That's my concern. I don't think it's being addressed.
Yeah, well, I think in the land uses, it actually is addressed. It's just what you do in a comprehensive plan is you set this generic framework, and then it's operationalized in a zoning map, which is what, as I said, permits and prohibits. So I hear what you're saying, Dave. I guess what I'm saying is that your battle isn't over with the comprehensive plan. The zoning map will be very, very important. Okay.
So Dave, is your issue really regarding the intent, if you will, or the intent of commitment, or what is laid out to be prescribed, as Jack indicated, future zoning? Are you saying that the comprehensive plan doesn't, in your mind, in your view, nail down that commitment toward, let's say RB zones, or what might be looked at prospectively in the plan to protect residential property? Is that kind of where you're coming from in terms of is it the intent, how you read the plan in that respect?
The intent and the follow through. That's
Okay.
I do not see that during my reading of the proposed comprehensive plan update.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak in support of this comprehensive plan update? Third time and last time, would anyone like to speak in support of the comprehensive plan update? And just for protocol's sake, I'll ask, would anyone like to speak in opposition to the updated comprehensive plan? And hearing none, I'll ask a second time, would anyone like to speak in opposition to the updated comprehensive plan? Okay, and again, hearing no one, I'll ask a final time, would anyone like to speak in opposition to the updated comprehensive plan? And unless somebody jumps in, I'm going to assume the answer is no. So with that, I make a motion to close the public hearing. May I have a second?
I will second that.
Supervisor Conway,
Yes.
Counselor Tierney,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Matters,
Yes.
Counselor Fritz.
Yes.
Okay, so now we have an issue for tonight that we last month passed a resolution to schedule a public hearing on the senior tax exemption for 6:45.
Did he freeze? Is Jack frozen?
Looks like he's.
Now,
frozen.
our attorney should do this at 6, what's that?
Jack, you froze up for a minute, so you should probably
I?
report that message again.
Yeah, I keep getting this message that my internet connection is unstable.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay. But at any rate, so it's the notice is said 6:15. So what Dave suggested is that at 6:15, and I'm assuming it's 6:13, so I'm counting this as 6:15, that I should say what I just said and let people know if you're here for that public hearing, it'll start at 6:45. Okay, so with that,
So Supervisor Conway, excuse me for interrupting, but you did break up during the middle of that, so it might be worth starting that over again just from the start, in case people didn't hear all of it.
okay, we have a bit of a snafu here. Last month, the town board passed a resolution scheduling a public hearing on the senior citizen tax exemption for 6:45 tonight. We inadvertently posted the notice advertising the public hearing at 6:15. So Dave Grunberg, our attorney to the town, suggested that what we do is at 6:15, and now Tina, with the delay, I think I'm really almost right on the minute. At 6:15, I should explain this snafu and tell people if you're here for the 6:15, for that public hearing, it will start at 6:45 and you will be heard. So with that, we have a presentation, and this is a good time to fit it in between the public hearings. Megan, who's going to be presenting? Who's the lead presenter?
I was going to do a quick explanation and then introduce them.
Okay.
So in February, we published an RFP, RFP 2101, which is the building and code software. We received 9 proposals and quickly reviewed and selected 5 of those to move forward for presentations with our team. The initial review team was myself, Mary Hendrick, our purchasing clerk, and Kevin Hitchcock, the building inspector. From that 5, we were able to quickly narrow it down to the top 3, which quickly became the top 2 candidates following reference checks. We did a number of follow-ups with question and answers and everything else. Did a follow-up question and answer period with an expanded team that included Supervisor Conway, Adam, and Colleen. And after some real tough discussions, we were pleased to notify Dude Solutions, who is joining us tonight, that the town has selected their SmartGov platform for the town of East Greenbush for the code enforcement software. I'd like to introduce Brian Andreyko, who is the Enterprise Account Executive, Helen Whitgo, the SmartGov Solutions Consultant, and Jeff Pavey, the Director of SmartGov. And they'll conduct a quick system overview, kind of give you guys a walkthrough of everything. And then after their presentation, they'll open it up to a Q&A. That way we can just keep everything moving.
Okay, and we have a hard stop at 6:45.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Megan, for that introduction. Yeah, and I appreciate y'all having us on tonight and being able to present some of this stuff. And Helen's going to go through a quick presentation, and we'll be very tight knowing the schedule and allow for Q&A. But obviously, I know town did a lot of comprehensive search for a lot of things they're looking for around the permitting, planning, inspection side, et cetera. We thought might be best tonight. Obviously, it involves a lot of the public and being able to, one of the big needs was to submit permits online, to pay online, to improve the workflow process from start to finish for the town, as well as just being able to access information that's publicly available, but right now is being done through a lot of phone calls and emails and those type of things. So we thought it makes sense for tonight, at least, let's walk through our web-based, our public portal that'll be open to the public, to contractors, homeowners, to be able to do a lot of submission of this information going forward. And then I think that'll be a good kind of tail end, I guess, to a lot of questions y'all may have. And we can certainly open forum to anything you guys would have available for us. So if that's fair to start, I'll turn it over to Helen. We'll jump into a quick presentation on that side of the house, and then and we'll open it up to QA after.
Perfect. Thank you, Brian. And I want to confirm that you guys can see my screen change here. Awesome. So yes, my name is Helen. I'm a solution consultant. I've actually been with Dude Solutions for about a year now, and about a decade prior to that, I actually used to be in a position very similar to Megan. And I got a chance to implement and use SmartGov for several years, so I can attest firsthand the kind of impact that it can have on your community. Now, I have brought up the public portal, and this would be integrated into your existing website. And we want you to think of that as an extension of your front counter. So this is where you can have that 24/7 customer service for your citizens and for yourselves as well. This is where people can apply online. They can pay for fees online, which is definitely something that we wanted to highlight. That's how I did most of my holiday shopping this year, was through Amazon. So, just being able to provide those 21st century services. Your residents, maybe you've got Birch Builders, they've got a lot of permits going on with you guys, new housing. They can go in, schedule their inspections based on your inspections calendar. And then you can also make information available for the application status. And this can be available to that contractor like Birch Builders, or maybe you've got a homeowner who's doing a re-roof. But you can also make information available to the general public. And this is really what's going to help mitigate a lot of the phone calls that your staff is receiving and providing that transparency to your public. I've got this search field up here, and this is where, let's say, a member of the public could go in and look up any information. So we had a Sonic restaurant come into town, which was a big deal for us. We had people call in, they wanted to know when it was going to open, what it was going to look like. So that's content we were able to share through the public portal. You can also have interactive reports available, and this can be done through this reports feature right here, or you also have an interactive map. So if you wanted to be able to, let's say, lay your zoning layer over that map, that's something where a homeowner could type in an address, be able to see what their setbacks were, what the kind of use on their property was, any sort of details that you might want to have. With this reporting functionality too, you can go ahead and have content available that might be requested on a regular basis. So if you as a council member, or maybe you've got a real estate agent, they're calling once a month, want to see all of the newly issued permits, that's something that you can allow them to pull that information themselves. Now, from your perspective, and something that was definitely very popular with my jurisdiction, is that with SmartGov, if you know that you want to see information, the system can automatically generate and disseminate it. And I'm going to pull up a couple examples here. So one of them, just changing my screen here, is inspection results. So if you want to be able to see what your staff is doing out in the field, how many permits they're reviewing, you can have this automatically scheduled to send to a supervisor. Maybe that's something that you want to see. Another one that I wanted to show you guys that I think will resonate is permits issued by permit type. And this one I personally had scheduled to send the first Tuesday of the month for the previous month's activity to all of my council members. So I've got where it's at and then the revenue that's been collected. With this information, we want to provide your staff, as well as you as Greenbrush's leadership, the information that you need to be able to make decisions, whether that be pulling data for your next comprehensive plan analysis, or just deciding what kind of policies that are going to be appropriate. Now, I've talked a lot about the public portal, so that public interface. We also have two other components. So the first one I'll discuss is what we call the back office, and that's the view that your staff will see from their desktops. Typically with this view, they can have information, maybe some statistical information and a user to-do list. And I wanted to talk about this user to-do list with you guys because SmartGov can route and automate any sort of review process. So if there's an application that's initiated by staff, comes through the public portal, the SmartGov system can automatically route for sequential or concurrent review. And we've found that this really helps expedite the review process so that you're able to get more permits out in a quicker fashion. We also have a dedicated mobile app that staff can use in the field. Through this, they can search the system. Let's say they're driving around town, they see an outstanding code enforcement violation, they can verify whether or not it's already been cited or not. If it is an issue, they can go ahead and initiate it in the field, so really helping with that proactive code enforcement and maintaining that quality of life in Greenbush. You also have the ability to view your inspection schedules, you can take pictures, capture any results, and all that's being pushed from the mobile app to the back office in real time. So we want to cut down on the back and forth that your inspectors are currently experiencing while they're out in the field and give them the tools and essentially materials that they might need to reference while they're completing their work. Now, that was a very high level overview of the system. We can open up now if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Great presentation, thank you for, making this pretty layperson friendly, especially for me, but was wondering in terms of the database or databases that are going to sort of underlie this. You know, you're creating whatever reports, you know, might be useful for staff, as well as, you know, various forms, and the portal, you know, sort of the operational aspects of the portal for the public. But in terms of the database, is this something that has the capability to interface with, we have two other departments. I guess that's so where I'm going with this. With planning and zoning, which is one department, and our assessor's office. And I'm wondering, in terms of what those offices may find useful regarding the data that's going to be built up, you know, within this system for the building department, does this system have the capability for that data to be interfaced with those other departments? I guess is what I'm wondering, how compatible it may be, so that if there is usefulness, those other departments can take advantage of it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so glad you brought that up, Mr. Matter. So with SmartGov, we do want to connect to other databases. So parcel connectors, typically one that we see quite frequently, where you want to pull in from your assessor's office things like the legal description of property, property owner history, splits and merges. So that's all content that we can consume. And with SmartGov, you can set it to update periodically. So if you want that refresh once a day, we want your staff to have the most up-to-date information. Vice versa, SmartGov can go ahead and extract a report and send it over to your assessor's office in some sort of consumable file. Does that answer your question?
Great. No, it does. No, thank you very much for that. It
And
sounds great.
real quick too, I know one of the main things that we focused on when we were, you know, going through questions and answers and all that kind of stuff is the ability for someone like Patrice to access certain files, like when she needs to do the post-completion review where she updates the assessment files and stuff like that. The assessor's office would have full access to, and we can limit or give them full access to the software. Same thing with dispatch. So say someone calls after hours or on the weekend when our guys aren't in the office, they could say, yes, there's an active permit. They are, you know, permitted to be doing what they're doing or something to that nature. And that was a very big selling point for us.
Right. So you can kind of control reading versus reading and writing privileges
Yes.
into the system. Gotcha.
Yep. Like a view or like a read-only kind of file.
Right.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Ellen, can you see the comment in the chat?
I just saw it popped up. So the question was, is this a cloud-based solution? And if so, what are the safeguards against data security as well as guarantees for 24/7 uptime? Another great question. So with SmartGov, we're actually configured to be hosted on the Amazon web server, so AWS. And with that, you have that reliability and security that comes with the Amazon. I mean, these are the same systems that are holding all of your defense networks. And then with that, because it's a software as a solution, you can get automatic updates to the system without any sort of downtime. So for example, about every 2 weeks, we make modifications. Most recently, we made some tweaks to the public portal to make sure that it remained ADA compliant. And that's something that we were able to push to all of our partners without disrupting any sort of service. We also have over it's 99.9999999% uptime. And we are able to do that through the Amazon Web Services load balancing. So, you know, if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a lot of activity, it can actually bounce around to different locations. And it will be, so all of the data is held within the contiguous United States and you own your own data.
Gotcha. So we won't have to pay any licensing fees for various portions of data that may be utilized within the system?
Yeah, it's unlimited storage in perpetuity, so you all have access to as much data as you want to use inside of SmartGov. Any types of documents you upload, pictures, etc.
Right. but we won't have to pay any additional licensing. There won't be any supplemental licensing fees in order to, build on that acquired data for the system.
In terms of extracting it out or just being able to add on to it, like when you want to add things to SmartCode?
No,
Or
I think your question is, do you have to license directly with AWS? Rick, is that your question?
Yeah, right. Either with that entity or with any, sort of third-party entity, for that data.
We as a company have those contracts, and but you don't have to contract with those directly. So we manage all that stuff, and you're only kind of licensing or contracting comes through the kind of the services, the software as a service through us, and we take care of all that. And then what Brian said is we don't say, oh, well, you have more storage, so we're getting charged more, so you get charged more. I mean, the real truth is the data storage is so cheap because of the advent of the cloud that, we do provide that contracting, licensing through AWS. That's what we do. And then you get the benefit of unlimited data storage.
Megan,
Great.
Megan, can you walk through the costs for the board?
Yeah. 1 second. I'm just pulling that
While
up.
you pull that up, Megan, I just had a quick question about supporting new staff who get onboarded after the kickoff. Do you do training for new staff? 6 months, a year down the road?
Yeah, so that's inevitable that your guys are going to get new people. And through SmartGo, we have virtual classroom trainings, we have help resource guides. And then when you're initially set up, we do a train a trainer type of model. However, our rule of thumb is if anything's going to take you more than 5 minutes, just contact support and we'd be happy to assist you in any way.
Yeah, I just would like to add on to what Helen is saying. The goal is to make you non-reliant on us. It used to be kind of the way software used to work. There was, people would have to, that you as a jurisdiction would have to reach out to the vendor and rely on the vendors for a lot of different things. We provide resources, and we do the train the trainer training, and we identify super users in the organizations. And that allows you to kind of grow and evolve independently. I'm not, as Helen said, we have those resources and you can always pick up the phone and reach us, but the way we do our training and our implementation is so you guys can maintain and train your people as they come on. If you do need extra training, then that's also something we provide, but we try to make it so that you don't actually need that. That's the goal.
Meg?
Okay, sorry. And the one good thing too is that they work with the value payment solution systems, which is what we use for water and sewer. So the more transactions that we do through that service, we are able to knock down the percentage that residents pay. So that could be applied to both for the percentage for this building and code software and our water sewer payment system too. So that is a benefit also there. The implementation cost comes in at $26,738.94. The annual cost for this year, and this is going with a May 1st implementations, like we start the project, would be $12,387.20 for a total first year cost of $39,126.14. And then I know that is just under what we budgeted for this project, so that is awesome. This from the 5 that we brought in, they were all right within our budget window. Some of the ones that we got came in. I asked if they were going to supply the house that came with the building permit to implement the software, because some of them were $262,000 was the highest. So, and then there's 3 that were right around 262 to 150. So it was, they weren't really even considering our budget. But this one checked off every single box that we had for the software. So that was awesome. And then each additional year on the contract is 18,000, just around the 18,000 mark. I can't remember if there's an increase for subsequent years or not. I know with some of them there were, I can't recall off the top of my head.
Thanks, Mick. Helen, did you see the other question in the chat room?
I did. So about the option to export data, that's something that you can do at any time. You actually don't have to come through us for. So if you do decide to move to a new vendor, or if you just want to have a copy of it for your records, that's something that you can extract in like a Commodore Limited or an Excel file.
And you can do two things. You can extract portions of that data in the file categories that Helen was mentioning. You can also hire SQL database backup. It's literally a button in the system. So we have jurisdiction. This is not necessary, but we have jurisdictions that like to have a backup of their own data on their servers, which you can do, and you can do that on demand from within the system.
And the nice thing is too that because how we maintain our information right now, with it being an Excel spreadsheet, it's going to be a lot easier than if we had to upload into the system, because they'll just be able to manipulate the columns the way they need it to be. So it's awesome.
Good. Any other questions? Okay, well, Brian, Jeff, Helen, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It looks great to me. It really does. But I have probably the simplest understanding of technology of anyone on this screen. So, but thank you guys very much, and thanks for coming to make this presentation. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Night.
Okay, so we still have 9 minutes before, and we're in the pre-board meeting. We haven't gone into the next public hearing yet. So I think what we'll do is opening comments from the counselors. Counselor Tierney?
All right. Hello, everyone. I said to Commissioner Fiacco that I was up here in my little office yesterday watching the DPW working very hard collecting all those leaf bags. And so we really do appreciate that. My neighborhood looks beautiful. So thanks to all of the hard work for that. The only announcement I had was this week we had our first kickoff meeting for the Conservation Advisory Council, newly formed. A great group of people who will set a meeting schedule and make those public so people are able to attend and watch the magic happen. So that's the only announcement I have.
Okay. Counselor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would remind everyone that summer camp applications are now open for our town children to attend summer camp. The applications are online on the Community and Rec page and on our town website. And also along that same line, the bathrooms, as we were talking about earlier in the town park, the building has been completed and we're just waiting for the concrete sidewalk to be poured, which it will be before the end of the month. As well, I would also like to remind everyone that one of 4 opportunities to dispose of hazardous waste is happening this Saturday, the 17th, at Bethlehem, the highway garage. And you do need to pre-register if you'd like to dispose of any of your hazardous waste. And you can register on our town rec desk. I'd also like to congratulate Jack, our town supervisor, for being awarded the elected official of the year from the New York State Parks and Recreation Society for 2021. You were nominated by our recreation director, Mike Martin, and you were selected as the top candidate to receive the award statewide. So I'd really like to congratulate you. It's well deserved. I know you were selected because of your dedication and commitment to our community services, to our parks, to community events, and to improvements town-wide in our park system. So congratulations on that award.
Thank you. Counselor Matters?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Welcome everyone tonight. Yes, congratulations, Mr. Supervisor. So well deserved. Kudos to you, and all the accolade that goes along with that. But yeah, the only thing I have to say beyond that tonight is I hope everyone's getting their shots, and I think most of us either have or they're impending. So the light's at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully that's inspiring people, at this moment. So we have a lot to look forward to in 2021. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Counselor Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would also like to extend my congratulations to you. It is a great honor that you won this award. And I want to thank Mike Martin for putting you forth for it. That he saw this opportunity for the town of East Greenbush and to recognize your hard work. And I think that is great. It has been wonderful seeing everyone out on the bike path. I've only traveled a small section of it here in town, but I am seeing people every single day going up and down my street, going to and from the different parts of the path. So it is great to see the use. As a reminder, we do have to be careful at all of the crossings, and we need to be watching for people. And it is just great to see everyone getting outside and doing their thing. And I agree with Councilor Matters. We do need to make sure that we continue with our COVID protections and getting our shots. I get my second one on Friday. I'm very excited. So we need to keep up the hard work so that we can move forward and get beyond COVID, hopefully soon. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, this award I won it's ridiculous that I won the award. Danny Fiacco bullied the contractor into making a great red barn. From Town Hall, virtually all of the important administrative work was dumped on Megan Hart with impossible deadlines. Scott Gallery and I did a lot of the talking about the project, but everyone else really, we built that red barn in 4 months, and Tina and I came into office in 2015 with the idea that the connections between people in town are really important and need to be facilitated. So between what we've done in the park and the Albany Hudson Trail and the Luther Road sidewalks and a number of other projects, I feel like this award says that we've delivered on that promise. Not that you're ever done, you want to do more, but so far so good. And the other reason that we're able to do what we did in the park is because of the way that we run the GEIS system. It's such a tight system, it's strict. Everything they're internal controls. Everything is done by the book, and the parks money finally went to the parks. And that's not a stroke of genius. That's doing what you're supposed to do. So for the Employee of the Month, Mike Martin, thank you for thank you for that nomination. But truthfully, it was very strange to do that. I want to agree with Rick on the optimism angle. I think that we're starting to come out. Town Hall is open. People are coming in. And people are glad to be coming in, and people are commenting on how nice the place looks, how different it looks. Another Dan Fiacco special. And so, we move on with that. We had I got 2 more minutes, right, Ellen? We had a budget meeting with Chief Rudzinski and Assistant Chief Reichert, Megan, George, and I, and we're going to do that on a monthly basis. And we reviewed 2020, and I do have to say the police department, and especially the chief, did a really good job in 2020. Her first full year at the helm, but the dollars were where they were supposed to be. There are a few things that were over that had very rational explanations, and which, when we're done with the reimbursements and other things, will probably mostly disappear. So I want to thank the police department, and especially in these troubled times where nationwide, police are getting hammered. We have a good police department, both administratively and most importantly, programmatically in terms of protecting the public. So thank you guys. Seriously, it's a really good job. So, okay, it's 6:44. We're going to start the public hearing. And as soon as this turns, Ellen will make sure I don't miss it. Okey-doke. The 6:45 public hearing is called to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
to the
and to the
republic
republic for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supervisor Conway,
Present.
Counselor Tierney,
Present.
Counselor Kennedy,
Present.
Counselor Matters,
Present.
Counselor Fritz.
Present.
Please take notice that pursuant to a resolution adopted by the town board of the town of East Greenbush, the town board shall hold a public hearing to receive public comment on a proposed local law on April 14th, 2021 at 6:45 PM at Town Hall, actually by virtual means, consider a local law. At the hearing, the town board will receive comments from the public about the following proposed local law. Local law of the town of East Greenbush, Rensselaer County, New York, amending local law number 3 of the year 1982 to provide that in computing income eligibility for the senior citizens real property tax exemption, any income shall be offset by all medical and prescription drug expenses actually paid, which were not reimbursed or paid for by insurance, and amending local law number 1 of the year 2004 to modify the maximum income eligibility levels for such real property tax exemption. Currently, East Greenbush provides that senior citizens owning and residing in residential real property in the town may qualify for a reduction of town imposed property taxes based upon their income. The town code provides a scaled percentage of value exempt from town taxation up to 50% based upon the income of the property owners. The law sets forth the definition of what constitutes, quote, income for the purposes of obtaining such an exemption. This amendment to the local law would provide that any income of the applicant would be offset by all medical and prescription drug expenses actually paid by the applicant, which were not reimbursed or paid for by insurance. In addition, East Greenbush now provides for a maximum annual income of $32,400 to be eligible for a senior citizen exemption from town property taxes. This local law would increase that amount to $37,400 pursuant to state law, and would also authorize the town board by resolution to change the maximum income and the percentages of exemption to be allowed in the future. A copy of the local law may be inspected at the office of the town clerk during regular business hours. A copy of the proposed local law is also available on the town's website at www.eastgreenbush.org. The town board of the town of East Greenbush will hold a public hearing to consider comments on computing income eligibility for the senior citizen real property tax exemption Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. Written comments may be submitted to the town board by email or to the town clerk or by mail to Town Board, Town of East Greenbush, 225 Columbia Turnpike, Rensselaer, New York, 12144 at any time prior to the hearing by order of the East Greenbush Town Board.
Thank you, Ellen.
You're welcome.
So there's basically 2 amendments here from 2 different local laws. Rick, do you want to real quick go over those?
Sure, Mr. Supervisor. As the town clerk just articulated, this is a senior citizen real property tax exemption. And as you just indicated, Mr. Supervisor, it's sort of, you know, kind of a hybrid of the provisions of two previously enacted local laws. The first one was local law number 3 of 1982. And the actual amendment here is relatively small. It just qualifies essentially the income, you know, vis-a-vis to be offset by any medical and prescription drug expenses actually paid, you know, that weren't reimbursed or paid by insurance. And then the second part of this, and that's really kind of a qualification change, the quantification change is, you know, relative to the income level. And local law number 1 of 2004 limited it to $32,400. And what we're going to be doing is, you know, legitimizing the higher rate, which is now authorized, you know, under the real property tax law of $37,400. It's kind of interesting, the sliding scale that they have, that obviously, you know, as someone who is trying to get the most out of the exemption, you know, $29,000 gives you 50% off, you know, town tax, you know, your town tax obligation. And, you know, that's of course, you know, the general fund and the highway fund. It does not include, the special districts and, you know, the obligation under those special districts. So, but it's still, you know, it brings you up to $37,400, and you still get a smaller exemption as you eke up toward between 29,000 and 37,400. So that's, you know, we're just trying to stay on top of all of this, obviously, to make sure that, you know, what we have in practice is what we have codified under our town code. And just as an aside, I understand, you know, from our purchasing agent that the town code has recently been advanced for the next round of updates, which is very exciting. I know our attorney to the town, Dave Grunberg, is very excited because then he as the attorney can go right to that source, and it's very usable and it's very convenient. Has a lot of utility to it. And I know everyone in town hall is going to really enjoy using that once it's all done. So that's about it, Mr. Supervisor.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, so
Sure.
would anyone like to speak in support of this change in the local law?
I'd like to speak in support of it.
Okay.
I think the threshold's a little bit too low for a lot of people living in Greenbush that are in that income bracket. It's not going to affect me whatsoever, but I think we have a lot of senior citizens that they have a dual income, but it's only Social Security. A lot of them don't have pensions, or their pensions are gone, or whatever. So I think that $37,400 threshold is a little bit too low. I think that we might consider that go up at least to the maximum amount of security, Social Security, that a person would get, or the persons in any given household would get.
But Rick, is that 37,400 the maximums by state law?
I think you're correct, Mr. Supervisor. It's unfortunately, we're sort of bound by, as you just indicated, the limit under the real property tax law. So,
I don't disagree.
you know, we try to stay even with that as it goes up, you know. And the nice thing about, well, the added feature here, because I know I spoke to Dave Grunberg about this at length, and he fitted in here, is that we can now, you know, tweak this as that changes. We can do it by resolution. We don't have to go back and, you know, enact an amendment to our code to keep up with that, which I think is great, you know.
And the only other comment I have is that if you haven't considered already, that if you even have an idea who would be eligible for it, is there any kind of outreach to make sure those people notice, they understand they have that benefit coming to them at all?
I believe we send a reminder out on an annual basis to people who've gotten it. So, but I can check that.
So I need to lobby the state government?
Yes. Yeah.
There you go.
In principle, though, I agree with you, Dave. Would anyone else
Yes.
like to speak in support of these amendments? Okay, hearing no one, I'll ask a third time. Would anyone like to speak in support of these amendments? Hearing no one, would anyone like to speak in opposition? Would anyone like, the second time, would anyone like to speak in opposition to the amendments? And hearing crickets, I'll say it a third time. Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this amendment? Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Supervisor Conway,
Yes.
Counselor Matters,
Yes.
Counselor Tierney,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Fritz.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're back in the pre-board meeting. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the agenda, or as I like to call it, War and Peace, because this is an incredibly thick agenda. I was remiss earlier in my comments when I talked about the police department, because Stephanie Shibley is also critical to these guys with all the fancy titles are one thing, but Stephanie is essential to the work we do and to keep track of things. And she just had knee surgery, so we wish her a speedy recovery. With that, we'll go to the resolutions. The first two are meeting minutes. And the third, resolution 84, is proclaiming the week of May 10th through May 14th, 2021 Police Week in East Greenbush. This is timely. And if you read the resolution, that the genesis of Police Week, it really has to do with officers lost in the line of duty. And Holly, do you want to throw in a personal note here?
Well, I will say that my grandfather lost his life in the line of duty, and his name actually appears on the memorial wall down at the plaza at New York State Plaza. We had a special ceremony for him several years ago when his name was engraved. So
That's something to be very proud of. That's a man to be very proud of. And you know, every police officer risks that every time they put on the uniform. So that's what that resolution is about. Resolution 85 is to raise awareness for Child Abuse Prevention Month. What can you say about that? And 86 is a resolution to raise awareness of sarcoidosis. If any of you know Rebecca Palacios, this is a resolution near and dear to her heart, since she is dealing with this malady. And she came to see me the other day, and she looked fantastic, and she has amazing spirit. And she just wants people to understand and be aware of what this disease is. So we do that. 87 is a resolution to purchase duty ammunition for 2022. Chief, do you want to just throw a word in here on like why we're going so far ahead?
John, go ahead if you want. You drafted the resolution.
Thanks. Yeah, if you remember earlier in the year, we did a resolution to purchase our target ammunition for 2022 because of the nationwide shortage, not only with ammunition, but because of the pandemic. A lot of the manufacturers had to cut back on employees and things of that nature. So a lot of these larger manufacturers weren't able to produce as much and as fast. And as a result, it's put quite a backlog on our ammunition orders. So in order to sort of stay ahead of the game, we've got to order ahead of the game. And you know, our waits are anywhere from 8 months to a year, and you know, we're still waiting on ammo from last year's order. to get here this year. And so we're trying to sort of make sure we have what we need. So we ordered the target ammunition, I think it was last month, when that resolution came out, and that was obviously so that we could train and we could get guys qualified and all that stuff and have enough for the members of our tactical team to do what they need to do as far as training and all that. This is actually our duty ammunition. It's a more specific ammunition. It's a little more expensive, but it is also on very high demand and very short supply. So we're trying to order for 2022 and hopefully have it here by this time next year so that we will be ready to go for the year 2022 without having to wait a year to order it. So that's kind of the long and short of it.
Thanks, John. The next two resolutions authorize me to sign the 2021 handicap parking agreement with Rensselaer County and the 2021 Stop DWI enforcement agreement. Ethan, do you want to say a few words about that?
Certainly. So every year we partner with the county. There's also going to be a third one, which is very similar in title to the enforcement. It's a crackdown. This enforcement can be used anytime during the fiscal year for what details we deem. The crackdowns, like specifically during holiday times of the year. And the handicap's a new one that I had requested this year that we got, so we can specifically target, like for instance, the handicap parking at Walmart, which is a big issue we have, and as well as the other plazas. So money that we will put out officers to do details, and then we're reimbursed.
Yeah, these are good programs.
It's great to see these programs being done.
Yeah.
Money's there just for the asking, so we asked.
Yeah, and the thing to remember is that both of these efforts are ongoing. I mean, these are things we're vigilant about all the time, but this allows a special emphasis and again, creates awareness in people that we're watching this stuff, because you got to watch it. Resolution 90 settles a tax certiorari case for no gain or loss. It's the assessment will stay where it is, so that's a good thing lately. 91 is to adopt local law number 3, which is the senior citizen real property tax exemption. You have Ellen's minutes in your packages, and you have the text of the local law in your package, so you can see that what that is. The resolution 92 is to purchase a pickup truck for the water department. Dan, you want to say anything about these trucks we're buying?
We're just updating vehicles. That's part of what we need to do up there. So one goes to auction and then we purchase another one.
Okay. That's a good thing. Resolution 93 appoints Justin DiMartino to the position of laborer at the transfer station in the Department of Public Works. And Justin he stood out in the interviews. He kept talking about composure, which I think is probably the characteristic a human being needs the most when they're working at the transfer station. Because 98% of the people who come up there are good people and they're easy to work with. And then there's the 1 or 2% who will really get in your face, and you have to maintain your composure. So, and I sent you guys on email Justin's application, his Rensselaer County application, and the appointment letter and all that. But if you don't have it, drop me an email, I'll send it again. Resolution 94 accepts the resignation of Tom White from the position of Code Enforcement Officer. Tommy's been here for about almost 14 and a half months. He has a landscaping business. He thinks now is the time, if he's ever going to make it and stand on his feet with that, now is the time to do it. So it's a tough one because we spent 12 months training him, and it's kind of a tough loss, but Lisa Borst is with us. And today Lisa got out the ad for building inspectors. We're looking for 2. We're advertising. We're on Indeed.com. We're on the town website, and we're paying the Times Union way too much money to advertise there. So that's Tommy leaving. We surprised him with a little breakfast party this morning, and he talked to us about why he's going and all of that. I will say this, Tommy's a good guy. He's a good guy. He fit right in, and the way he was polite, respectful, and professional. And on a personal note, I'm going to miss him. So then the big business tonight, I think, is a resolution to authorize the paving and surface treatment of town highways. Here is the paving list. And you have in your package, first off, you have Tommy's resignation letter, and you do have Justin DiMartino's stuff in the packet again. But then you have, I sent you this stuff, but we printed another copy of the paving portfolio, if you will, which shows the ranked conditions of every road in town. Danny, is it too early to talk about how the finances for paving might have changed?
No, it's not. We just got news today that the CHIPS money will be increased for this year to $246,000, which is great because we're first time. Yeah.
First time in a long time.
So we can actually accomplish, what we need to. And if you notice on this list, these are specific developments. We're not going in and paving 2 roads in a development. We're doing a whole development. So there's Governor Square. We're completing August Gate. We're doing Robin Lane. So there's Robin, Heather, and Celeste Drive up by Huffman's and Barber Drive. We're basically completing neighborhoods when we're doing so.
And don't forget Avian Drive.
Avian Drive, we're going over Avian Drive.
Yeah.
What a top coat.
Yeah, and Danny and I were talking about this briefly today. We might in May come with a few additions to this because we're looking at the various ways we funded it. In this go through, we were going to commit $55,000 of general fund balance to this. With the news that the CHIPS money has been increased fairly significantly, we intend to keep that 55,000 in with the additional CHIPS money so we can do more. So Danny will cost out what we have, what the finances we have, and whether we can do any more roads. Because there's enough roads to be done. As I get reminded in phone and emails, and Danny does too every week. So, but that's a big one, and we've been getting a lot of calls from Avion Drive, and today, it was good to say tonight there's a resolution that indicates you will be paved because it's a beautiful neighborhood. Resolutions 96 and 97 are for insurance for the drones. One of them is for insurance for the pilots, and one is for the equipment. Do I have that right, Meg? And so these are of a dollar value that we wouldn't have to bring these to the town board. These are things that from the authorization I'm given at the organizational meeting, we could just buy. But we thought it was a good idea as we're learning about the drone program, as we're learning about the K9 program. We want to bring this stuff in so you see what it is and what costs are involved. Resolution 98 authorizes urgent repairs to the cross street pump stations. There's a story here. I told the board, I told you guys some of this in an email. Danny and I met with, and Scott met with, and George met with the city of Rensselaer. We went down there, Mayor Stammel's office, and Mayor Stammel and his attorney, Phil Danaher, and the Commissioner of Public Works were there. And what's happened is there's 3 pumps, and it turns out there's a 4th auxiliary pump, but there's 3 pumps at the cross street pump station. And the entire water supply of the town of East Greenbush and the city of Rensselaer are dependent on this. They were installed in 1964. There's a story, I don't know if it turned out to be true, that even one of the motors on those 3, when it was installed in 1964, was a used motor. And so we went down to talk to these guys because we think that if we had to replace all three pumps and the motors and the valves and all that, it could be a $600,000 project. So we wanted the mayor to understand that he's on the hook for half of that. And the good news was he agreed that if these things are really in jeopardy, they have to be replaced. But he did say they don't have any money. And it was a proud moment for us when Phil Danaher said, if you're going to bond it, can we get in on that? And I said, we're not going to bond this. And he said, you can pay cash for this? I was very polite. I just said, yes. The real answer is we have 3 different ways to pay cash for this that wouldn't put a dent in us. But we talked to Ed Hernandez from Adirondack Mountain Engineering, and he got some people from Troy to come look at the pump 3, which is the big pump, 900 horsepower. And it's the biggest, most important pump, and it's the one in the most danger. And what we got was a quote to repair or upgrade the motor. Danny, why don't you explain this? I'm probably about to go off the rails.
They gave us a quote to basically overhaul the motor that we have. They believe they can fix it for $7,600, so we're going to let them. And the main part is the general controls amount, $11,000. Right now, the city of Troy can't communicate with our station, so we have an old system there. It's called a Quinzar system. It was the original system from the 60s. It's basically obsolete. It stopped communicating with our pump station, so they don't know when to turn on our pumps to pump to our tank. So once we have the city of Troy, that once this is done and within 2 weeks, they're going to have it complete, they're going to put a cell service in to communicate with our station to allow them to turn on our pumps when they need to pump to the tank. Right now, the city of Rensselaer has their employee going there 3 times a day to turn the pumps on. So he goes during the day, and then he has to come back at night, shut it off at 8, and then he has to go back in at 4 in the morning. So it's creating a lot of overtime for him. And he's kind of getting burned out because he's been doing it for 6 weeks. So part of this was we initiated Adirondack Mountain Engineering, Ed Hernandez, and he's been on top of it. Within 1 week, we have all this completed already, where these companies are going to move forward to do the repairs.
Yeah, it's a critical piece of infrastructure. What we're going to look at also is the costs of replacing these things. And with the American Recovery Act money coming in from the federal government, what we like to do is when we hit a piece of infrastructure that needs work, rather than just put a Band-Aid on it and move on, we like to solve the problem so that moving forward that the town is in good shape. So we have the money to do that. But what you're seeing here is that very serious people are recommending to us that for this cost, we could be pretty much back in business the way we want to be. We're still going to look into the cost of replacing and maybe do a pump at a time or something, but we want to make sure this gets fixed. It's a problem. Resolution 99 appoints seasonal laborers in the Department of Public Works. Willard Klum and Jack Romer are the people we're recommending. Resolution 100 authorizes the procurement of a Proteus light camera crawler system. It's my preferred crawler system for the sewer department, and authorizing the use of GEIS fund. This is the camera where last time we passed a resolution joining the, what was it, Dan? The Houston Galveston
Texas Cooperative.
Yes. And so now what we're doing is we're buying. So that's what that resolution does. Resolution 101 replaces a dump body on truck number 13. We're going to go out on a limb here and say winter is over. So we're starting the process of getting our plow trucks ready for next year. And you don't want to be caught in October or November having to get those things together. And this is a kind of transit, kind of a major piece of work on truck 13. It's important, and it continues to upgrade the plows we use. Gives them a longer use life, and they're more efficient. So 102 surplus is a vehicle. It's a 2003 Ford pickup truck. 103 authorizes the solicitation of bids for a stainless steel dump body for truck number 11. This is along the same line, right, Dan?
This is the one you just talked about, truck 11. I get it
Oh, you mean,
confused too.
when I was talking about truck 13,
That's right. Well, truck
So you're-
13 we use for brush pickup and leaf
So you-
pickup and hauling gravel, stuff like that. But truck 11 is the plow truck. Yep.
Okay. Okay, the next, once again, resolution 104 authorizes the solicitation of bids for a pickup truck for the sewer department. Dan, I'm not even going to try to touch this one. What are we doing here?
We are just replacing a pickup truck. I believe when Scott got here, they purchased a Ford F-150, a 2003 from Upstate Auto. We can't get it inspected. It's about $4,000 to repair it. We paid $7,000 back in, I think, end of 2016 when he came in, or early 2017. So it's just not cost effective. And we're just going to replace a pickup truck. Kind of similar to what we're doing in the water department.
Yep. Okay, resolution 105 approves an amendment to the town of East Greenbush cafeteria plan, allowing certain temporary relief for benefit plans under the Continuing Appropriation Act of 2021. Now, I could, after mixing up trucks 11 and 13, I could make a stab at this one, but since Megan is here, why don't you explain this, Megan?
Okay, so this is a little tricky because there's a lot of different things taking place where it comes to the amendments and changes. So basically, on an average year, you can roll over for the flexible spending account about 500 to 575. It depends on what the federal government IRS approves for the year. As opposed to capping that this year, they're allowing people to roll over the entire whatever amount that they had left over. The reason I think behind this is, say you had a planned elective surgery for the year that may or may not have been covered. So something, say knee surgery, with a lot of the electives being canceled last year for the majority of the year, a lot of people's procedures were pushed back, so money that they had budgeted and taken out would be lost if we weren't allowed to roll this over. So on Sunday, December 27th, 2020, they signed the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021, and that allowed for Coronavirus Response Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021, which allows for a lot of this to be rolled over. It also allows for dependent care to be rolled over, which is awesome, because it's like, say you had taken money out for like summer camps or any kind of childcare, but because of schools being shut down, limited summer camp availability due to COVID, the money that you would have lost after February or March 15th this year is allowed to roll over. So when the cap before was age 12, now it's 13. Until they hit 14, you're allowed to carry it over and use it this year. And we have a number of employees that would have lost over $500 if we hadn't done this. So it's beneficial for all employees. And that since the money was taken right out of paychecks and put in a bank account, it's been sitting there, so it's not an expense to the town.
Yeah, this is good work by the finance office. Megan and Lisa, they stay on top of all of this stuff. And Mary's with us too, so I shouldn't, when I talk about the finance office, I got to throw Mary in. I shouldn't say throw, I've got to include Mary Hendrick because she's essential to what we do. And that finance office, you guys know these three women, it's quite a lineup. So I'm afraid of every one of them.
As you should be. No,
As I should. Truth be told, I'm not afraid of Lisa Borst. I'm just putting that out there. Sorry, Lisa.
Just a real quick question, if I could.
Of course.
Megan, thank you. No, thank you. Megan, do you think that these rollovers are going to be, because one of the things that was sort of a turnoff to me in years past with, the flex spending account
Mhm.
was, you had to, if you allocated so much money, for tax-free, to get the tax-free benefit, if you will,
Right.
you had to use it, right? Do you think the rollover is gonna kind of be a recurring theme going forward, or is this just isolated because of COVID?
As right now, it's only carried over to 2022. So I'm not sure. Um, I know that is a concern for a lot of people. And that's why, like, at the end of the year, they start spamming you with emails saying, stock up on your supplies. So, like, you can literally go through and buy Band-Aids, first aid kits, and all that kind of stuff. I stock up on contacts before I max out my prescription and everything else so that I can spend that money and not lose it. Um, because I do take advantage of this program, I always make sure that if we're eligible to increase the max that we're allowed to roll over, we do that. If we're allowed to extend any periods, I try and do that every time too. That way all of the employees can maximize, because I do kind of pitch it as, those that work a lot of overtime and maybe need something to offset their taxes, they can do that this way.
Definitely. No, thank you very much.
Okay. Resolution 106 is the contract with Dude Solutions. One of my favorite names of a company. The conversations it led to in town hall about who qualifies as a dude kept people entertained. But as it says in the resolution, we budgeted 50,000 for this project. This should cost about 39. And I think it's fair to say Mary and Megan are both here. Kevin isn't, but it's fair to say that there was real unanimity on this being the software we wanted. Kevin's a very particular guy, and we really needed his buy-in, and he was on board.
We had three great candidates, and it was actually really tough today to make the call to our number 2 and tell him that he didn't get the bid.
Megan looked like somebody beat her dog.
Well, the guy looked like he was going to cry. I felt bad.
He looked so sad about that. Resolution 107 enables Employee of the Month Michael Martin to attend the New York State Parks and Recreation Annual Conference. This one costs the grand total of $40. What we're really doing is authorizing Mike to go, which means this is a statement of trust, Mike. We're voting for you here. Well, not yet. We vote next week, but you never know. And then 108 makes staff appointments for summer camp. Mike, do you want to explain this and tell us who we got?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 of our camp directors for 2021, Caitlin Lallier is actually Colleen Lallier's daughter. I've talked to Jack. If I could get 20 Lallier girls, that'd be great, because they're all extremely hard workers. Caitlin was instrumental in how our activities went last year. She called me in May with over 200 activities planned. She's extremely committed. She's an extremely hard worker, and I'm so happy that I was able to convince her to come back. We have the 2 Ayula twins. We had Mike was our assistant director last year. He's now going to be our senior camp director. His brother, who is equally as impressive, will be the assistant director. And then Cameron McHale will be joining us as a assistant camp director. All 4 of them were with us in 2019. And as I mentioned in the resolution, I do enjoy that the 4 of them were all campers for the town camp at one point. So I think it goes to show how great of a job the people before me did in building the camp, and how it continues to have a good reputation now that these people want to come back and work for us. So I'm very excited about this. Caitlin and all of them are great, and yeah, it's going to be a good year.
And Mike, we'll do the counselors' appointments in May?
Yes.
Okay. All right, resolution 109 is to appoint a part-time clerk to the Community and Recreation Department. Mike, why don't you tell us about this one too?
Okay, so we had 5 people apply. We had 3 candidates come in to interview with me, Jack, Holly, and Ulysses O'Brien. All 3 of them great, very good. The candidate we got, her name's Donna. She has over 30 years of being a administrative assistant. She's extremely qualified for this position. She is a retiree now. She wants to give back to the town, which is great. And she was familiar with a lot of our programs. So I cannot wait to get her in. She's going to be a tremendous asset to my department. And with the volume of phone calls that I've been getting for camp and park rentals, it will be very nice to have her in there. So yeah, I'm very excited about having her join us.
Yeah, and what you need to know about Donna Millett, this is an extraordinary woman. She's a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo.
Really?
And she's a gardener who teaches classes in pruning. So if you're a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo and you're a pruner, I just think we had to find a very, very sweet and unusual human being here, but one who everything she does, she's really good at. So this was part of the movement of moving Taylor Tibbetts up to the garage in the full-time position and taking the part-time secretary position at the garage and moving it down to Mike. Mike and I talked about this. His work is more seasonal. So we're gonna try it this way this year and see how it goes. But Donna was fun to meet. She really was, and great energy.
She sounds like she has a broad cross-section of talent there. Wow. Everything from kung fu to gardening and everything in between, right?
Yeah. Well, I know I'm going to be very polite around her. I try to do that. I try to do that anyway, but you know, this time it could be life or death. Resolution 110 schedules the public hearing for the 2021 annual report for our MS4 program. This public hearing will be held on May 12th at 5:45 p.m. So this is 15 minutes before the start of the pre-board meeting. And then the next one, Resolution 111 of 2021, sets a public hearing date for the Town Center Plan Development District major site plan. We passed the local law, which was the PDD, and now what we're doing is we're reviewing the major site plan. The planning board has, I don't know if they're done with it or if they finished tonight, but it's our turn, and that public hearing will be May 12th at 6 p.m. Okay. Then the next resolution is appointing and the position of planner in the Department of Planning and Zoning. And the candidate, of course, we've recommended to this board. We're going to meet in just a couple of minutes in executive session. And we fully intend to put her name in this unless somebody on the board decides that this just can't happen. And I promise you that won't be. We'll put Anna's name here, and that's who we'll appoint to be. 113 of 2021, and I've been remiss. I haven't been pointing out what's in your packages, but I do have this suspicion that you all can read and put them together. So I'm counting on you guys. 113 authorizes me to sign a contract amendment number 3 with H2M Architects and Engineers. If you remember, the background to this, if just to refresh the memory, is the deal we made with Regeneron to upgrade the Barracks Road and 3rd Avenue pump stations. And we're committed to up to $800,000 in GEIS fees to this project, and then Regeneron has to pay everything over that. And before any of these amendments, it's a $2.5–3 million project easy. So our 800,000 is capped. We can't, so what's happening here is H2M is doing the design of the new pump stations, and then we'll do the construction inspection. So they'll represent the town. In the process of doing the design work, they keep coming across unforeseen circumstances. I'm going to be honest with you. This is amendment number 3, and I'm not happy about it. These guys are really good. They came in a couple $100,000 over other bidders, and we got permission from Regeneron to go for the quality that these guys bring. These guys did the city of Yonkers wastewater treatment plant, which is enormous. But I'm not happy with this. They keep coming up with things that they didn't see or they didn't anticipate. And now today we found out that one of their lead people on this project is leaving. So on a text group, Adam, Danny, and I had a little conversation about whether this is a good thing or not, that David's leaving. We really liked him. We had a lot of faith in him, but this is another $28,000. We are pretty much at the $800,000 that we're committed to. So it's more than likely that this is Regeneron's going to pay most or all of this, but we have to approve the amendment contracts with us. 114 requests that we act as lead agency for these pump station upgrades. I think that's obvious, and you know how this works. You give the other interested agencies 30 days to contest lead agency if they so desire. But you know, this is, everybody understands that the way this is played. You send it to Rensselaer County. What they might offer comments, but they're not going to ask to be lead agencies. But this does the formal act of declaring ourselves lead agency for the purposes of secret. Resolution 115, the Holly Kennedy resolution, schedules a public hearing to receive input on the draft Gilligan Road Complete Streets Enhancements Feasibility Study. Now, I didn't put it in your packages because I believe Adam emailed it to everyone. Adam did a little report on this. It's 113 pages. Basically a typical Adam email. But it's really well done. And the idea is the footpath on Gilligan Road, which we all understand to be a really important improvement in town. In terms of motor vehicle traffic, Gilligan Road, Dan, did you know this statistic? I think it's one of the 2 or 3 most traveled roads by cars in this town, at least town road.
I believe it may be the most traveled.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So any way you slice it, this is important. So this is a complicated issue. So much of the land that this path would have to be built on is school district land. So there's bureaucratic hurdles. I won't say obstacles, hurdles that we're going to have to jump through and work with the school district to get that done. And resolution 116 authorizes me to execute a memorandum of understanding with CDTC for a community and transportation linkage study for 2020 for the US Route 4 corridor. What's going on here is that the cost is a little bit different. There's a little bit different structure to the grant, and CDTC has already told us that this will be approved. But this authorizes the town side of doing it. God, there's a lot of these. Resolution 117 schedules a public hearing. Rick, you got to explain this one.
Yeah, sure. You know, this is basically just a case of you know, the alarm systems that trigger emergency services in the town of East Greenbush, you know, whether it be for fire, police, and we're not going to do it in a vacuum. So I'm going to reach out to Rich Salucci regarding, you know, possible implications, you know, regarding the false summoning of emergency services, you know, so that we do the complete package. But this was sort of brought to us at the prompting of Dave Cook, who is one of our fire commissioners in District 3. And it was really brought to us in the context of false alarms for fire services. But, you know, we kind of, in looking at what we have, what we've had up till now, which is a template of the town of Guilderland's local law that addresses this issue. I spoke with the chief, and she has put together some data for me to comb through, and I'll have some more background context, if you will, in terms of what this, really will be meaning to us, okay, down the road. But it really is a local law that's going to impose penalty fees essentially for any property owner, who summons emergency services, whether it's because of mechanical defect or electronic defect of their fire alarm, or their just generically their alarm system. And again, these alarms can go off. If it's not a direct summoning of the specific emergency service, it goes through our dispatcher, a dispatching facility or dispatching office. And, that means, they're brought into the fold, and, just generally speaking, if you look at the deployment of resources, whether, you're talking personnel and or equipment, you can imagine, where fire protection services are concerned, often they deal with those things on a conservative basis. So they're going to deploy some heavy duty equipment to a scene, and then all of a sudden, it comes to be that, it was all for naught. So what this is basically incentive for property owners to, reduce the occurrences of false alarms in town. And we're going to have a fee schedule. And I'm going to be recommending, through consultation with others, obviously, but, what the fee schedule is going to look like. Guilderland's, I think, is a little antiquated. So, you go through these numbers and you try to pick the right number. You don't want to be overbearing, but you want the penalty fee to be substantial enough so it acts as a deterrent, for future false alarms. So that's in a nutshell, I guess, Mr. Supervisor, what this is.
That's good. Thank you, Rick.
Sure.
That was the last resolution. Since this is pre-board, we do public comment at the end. So it's now public comment period. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Okay, with hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to meet candidate for employment. And I'd like to ask the board's indulgence to invite Human Resources Manager Lisa Borst into the executive session, Department of Public Works Commissioner Dan Fiacco, and Meg, you can, it's up to you.
I'll stay, say hi and get stuff switched over.
Okay.
And see how it goes.
And Director of Finance Megan Hart. So I make that motion. May I have a second?
I will second that.
Supervisor Conway,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Tierney,
Yes.
Counselor Matters,
Yes.
Counselor Fritz.
Yes.
Okay, and everyone else has to leave except Anna.
Oh, shucks. Oh,
Yes.
I'm unmuted. I'm sorry.
I think she should have to stay now.
Don't
Sorry.
argue. Don't argue, Chief. You gotta
Good
go.
night. Good night,
Good
all.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, John. Okay.
Ruin the fun.
So Megan, is Dude
Before we get
Solutions
started,
still here?
yeah, why are they still
Yeah,
here?
I'm not sure. I'm removing them. Hold on.
Okay.
Well, now hold on, because I want to.
What are you doing?
It asks why I'm removing them, so I'm just trying to make sure. I've never
Tell
seen
them.
that before.
Tell
You
them
get
none
that
of their
email,
business.
that's a result in case somebody like,
Oh,
it's